Hi, my name is Joseph, and
Hi, my name is Kyle.
this is our post-mortem presentation on our game One Way Out.
So, the first topic to discuss here is what we thought was a fun game. This was the brainstorming process we went through to determine what we wanted to make. And we used these definitions from class that we had in our readings and lectures and stuff. So, we wanted to make something that grabs and holds attention, has interesting decisions, which involves decision making, customization, which means customizing the map and how it works and stuff. We wanted to implement customizing the character, but we didn't have enough time for that. And then having obstacles overcome to achieve a goal. And then this here at the bottom is part of our game. When you first load it up, this is direction. This is part of the home screen, essentially.
So the general idea of our game, the goal was to find three keys and to escape. Throughout our process, we actually came up with many different ideas. We changed, but ultimately that became our goal for this game. There's many different rooms the player will go through. There's many obstacles such as mazes. There's even monsters that follow you, and they respawn when you go from room to room. And you have abilities to help you overcome those monsters. And in addition, there's many different surprises. We won't say it till later in the presentation, but there's many different surprises that we use to keep the attention of the player, so that way they can keep wanting to play.
Our game is fun because there's decision making involved. You have to choose which room you want to go through and how you want to traverse the map. That goes kind of with the next bullet point navigation throughout the map. I like the game design, our map design. I think it's very satisfying. Like it looks very cool. It's not bad for a first game. We use pixel art for that, and there's suspense in the game because you have a monster chasing you, and then there's some other surprises for you, and the music's good. And it's most of the rooms are designed in a spooky way, and some spooky things happen. So that's kind of cool. The obstacles are overcome and you have a goal. So that goes with the first slide there, finding the keys and escaping. And the whole theme of the game is kind of essentially a scavenger hunt. Like you're just walking around, you really know where you're going. There's just doors and rooms and stuff, and you are on the lookout for some keys. And your field of view is kind of limited, so you don't know exactly how the entire room looks. So you kind of have to figure your way around things.
So our game was created on Construct 2. I believe when we first started it was Construct 3, but because of all the ideas that we wanted to fit in, Construct 3 had a limitation to the amount of vents you can create. So we switched over to Construct 2, and we also used pixel art to design the rooms. So we had many different people, like we had all members of the team create their own room through pixel art, and then that was brought over to Construct 2 and implemented behavior. So Kyle and I, we were in charge of implementing the sound, and then we started creating our own rooms, making us part of the visual design team. And then Endred and Alex were also helping us. They helped modify with our room as well as we helped them with their rooms. So they were also with visual design. And then Jonathan and Ian were in charge of implementation. So taking all of the designs that we have brought over and the ideas that we have and implementing it through creating events and adding behavior. And rooms were created by each member, like I said, and we ended up connecting it together all at once. So that is why we realized, like afterwards, our game, it's kind of a pro and a con. Each room kind of has its own theme, so many users might play it and really enjoy that each room has a whole different experience. Some people say it's inconsistent. We've been through testing, we've started to realize what the audience likes and dislikes, and we'll know for the next game. And the game was then, after many changes, refined into this final product.
So we made the mistake of we kind of procrastinated this one a little bit. So we made the mistake of not being as far ahead as we liked. So by the time we submitted our prototype, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. There's a lot of placeholder graphics, like the sprite wasn't even included; it was just a blue dot. It was very hard for people to run our game because we didn't have an itch.io. We had it like where you had to actually download the construct file, so we fixed that. We refined some of our suspenseful moments. We made them less predictable and less obvious, and then we added in music and stuff. We fixed spawn locations, so what that means when you go through a door, you spawn where you should spawn. And in the prototype, that was not a thing. It would just spawn you in the room every time in the same spot. We added walls and doors, making it obvious, more obvious. We added signs to where, telling where the user should go. And then we fixed hitboxes because some places were hard to navigate through. Like you would have to really fit well to be able to navigate through things, and it was like a tight fit. So we fixed all those things. I mean, and this was literally basically every suggestion from the peer feedback from in class and on the forum. So
So the troubles we had with the game throughout our process, creating when we created the sprite, we realized it was a little bit more complex than we planned for how the sprite was going to move. So this is movement in general, movement for how the player is moving, like to have it follow you, and then not pass through you, but instead actually cause an event to happen. And another issue was spawn locations. What we realized was when you go from one room to the other, it would end up spawning in different places of the room. So let's say you were to go in the bottom right corner of a room, you'd come out of another room. When you go back into that previous room, you're not in the bottom right corner. You might be in the top left. So it's inconsistent, and that was something that we realized and ended up making a fix for. Screen centering and layering. When I created my room with pixel art, I had trouble with the different layers and adding one to the other and kind of understanding how it worked. Uh, and around the end, when I created my map, since each one had its own drawing, on accident, like things would shift. I don't. It probably because of me on accident, and I realized it kind of messed up the whole layout when one layer is a little bit shifted. And I don't know which layer it was. Key functionality, knowing which keys are the most effective. So, like when we implemented shooting, we didn't know which key would be the best, especially because we were originally thinking of having WASD as the controls, and we realized that would add to a lot more events and make it more complex, and realized it would just be easier to go the default arrows. So we had to realize where the shooting button would be and uh, different key functionality with that. Jump scares. That was a big idea that we wanted to implement to again to keep the attention part of the user when they're playing. Although we realized that it was getting a little bit inconsistent because when we would play, when the users would test and play, they would realize that hunting for keys and then getting a pop up didn't really work with our themes that we have already implemented. And another thing was the jump scare was it wasn't centered, kind of uh, like in previous 3 points up, it says screen centering. We ended up accidentally not realizing till it got tested that the pop up was not being centered in the screen, so we were only seeing like the chin, and that was obviously not scary. So we started to have decisions on if we should keep jump scares, and if so, how can we center it. Same thing with story direction. We realized that our game wasn't lasting as long. Yes, we have sprites moving and we have different pop-ups, but you needed a good story, and so we had to implement a story to kind of go with our game to give it some direction and meaning as to why we're playing it. And again, like Kyle said earlier, we have high ambitions. We wanted to implement all these different things and get these certain reactions out of the users. And we realized about half of our ideas really, when it got tested, went well, but the other half we weren't getting the reaction that we prepared for, and that's what caused us to make a lot of changes in our game, which is good and bad. It's not what we planned for, but it's definitely a learning experience. And yeah, monster functionality. I said that earlier. Having it follow you all the time and having it do an event to you. That was something that we all kind of, for me at least, it's something that I learned new. I never worked with monster functionality, so that was a thing that I had trouble with. And same with the map design, having it when it leaves the map, you have to create another functionality for it to re-enter the room. So that was another challenge that we had to face.
So making our first game taught us a lot of what not to do, and I guess what to do, but mostly what not to do. Uh, this time we're going to start earlier on and not procrastinate things. It's a lot easier if we stay ahead of the ball instead of catching up at the very end. We got to meet frequently, more frequently. You got to get together more and discuss more, talking in the Discord more, having some meetings, maybe in person and stuff. Better communication. We got to work together better. Less dividing and conquering and more so coming together as a team. I mean, dividing and conquering, it has its place, but in order to build the best game, we have to be in better communication and work together to make everything blend more seemingly. Construct 2 issues. Uh, because this was our first time using Construct, we were very inexperienced, so hopefully next time, if we do decide to use this program again, we will be much more versed at this and make a better game the next time around. And we needed a better foundation of the game. So for next time, we just got to think about it better and longer and try to come up with something that is a good idea on paper and how do we implement this and what do we want in our game instead of just essentially winging it for the most part. But at the end of the day, we did get a game down and it works. So I guess we'll take it as that is our first game and it's only going to get better from here. So that's all we got for our presentation, and the game will be attached to the submission. So, yeah.
Thanks for watching.